All right there, welcome back everyone. I have Nova here. We're going to do our next lesson with her. I just kind of did a quick one. She was tied up there, pawing really bad at the from coming in from outside, and I had to get her mind focused back on me, get her in the thinking mindset instead of the reactive one. And all I did was just take a few minutes, do some hindquarter yields, forequarter yields, get her stepping those feet over, forcing her to use that thinking mindset and to get her attention focused on me and for me to be the loudest thing in the room for her to focus on. So as you can see, she's remarkably calm right now versus what she was when I first started. You can go and see the other video of what she was like before. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue doing a little bit more of the forequarter yields going on the right side, since she wasn't as proficient with that because she had a tendency of wanting to step into my space here with this hip, just like she did there. She took a little bit of a step towards me. Good girl. So all I want to do is I just want to get her to understand that I don't want that hip to come towards me. I just want that forequarters to step away. Good. So I just want one step for right now, and then I will continue to ask more and more. So right there, she stepped over towards me. Good. Good girl. So another thing that I like to do is the drift yield or side passing as well. That's really good at getting a horse's respect, and I'm using that thinking mindset. I really like it when you have a horse that's scared of something too. So if you have a horse that's not quite sure about something, getting them to use that drift yield here and the side pass away from it, it's really gets them having to use that thinking mindset, because we're crossing not only the front feet, but we're crossing the back feet at the same time. So they have to really think about what their feet are doing, and it gets them from that reactive mindset to that thinking mindset a lot faster. Good. So again, I'm just reiterating my groundwork with her, and she's coming along really good. As you can see, I'm just doing my drift yields here. I want her to come forward, because in order for her to do it right, it's got to be crossed in front with both the hindquarter and the forequarters. All right, come forward a little bit. Good. 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 Good girl. There. Good. There was a nice lick and chew. Good. Lots of release and pressure here. Good. Wouldn't surprise me if she does a good blowout here too. You can just see all of that tension leaving her right now just by moving her feet that little bit. So she was a little bit nervous when I was asking of it, and her head was up in the air, but I had to do it in a manner that I was loud enough and challenging her enough that it made her focus on what her feet were doing and to focus on what I was asking. So whatever it was previously that was bothering her, it didn't matter anymore, because she was more focused on what I was asking of her. So that's what I mean by becoming the loudest thing in the room for them to focus on there. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. So let's do a little bit of backing. So here, I'm not going to increase my pressure. I'm just going to lift up here, and then I'm going to add a little bit of tapping on her chest, being she wouldn't go back right away. Instead of increasing my pressure, all I did was added a little bit of tapping underneath the chest here. So if I were to take this and increase my pressure, here on the snap and to pull harder, all I would do is to create a heavier horse, okay, by doing so. And actually, what I should have done there is just asked her to bring her head down a little bit and then ask her to back up. Here, good. And then she can use her body a little bit better than what she can with her head up. But what I'm going to do is, if I were to pull harder on this rope here when I'm asking her to back up, so she's reluctant to back up, I would just kind of tap on her belly or on her chest here and ask her to back. But if I were to pull harder on that rope, I would get her to be really heavy on that rope. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stimulate the opposition reflexes horses have built into them. And that's just something that is built into their DNA and is a fight or flight instinct, that if they feel like they're cornered or pinned or anything like that, they'll either fight against it. So if she thinks that she's getting pulled on more, she's just gonna fight against that extra pulling and stuff like that. So if you ever have a horse that's got steering problems and stuff, it's your key isn't going to be to just pull harder and pull their nose around harder. You're gonna have to continue to keep, if you want to teach your horse to be light, you've got to keep that light pressure and never really increase that pressure to do it up to a certain point, I guess. So if you need to get them be a little bit firmer, you can, but I mean, don't do it where you're really pulling them around and getting them to turn and stuff like that. I just want them to lift my rein, get them to turn and stuff. If they don't do that, what I'll do is, if I'm riding them, is being I've done all this groundwork here and they already know what it means with this stick here up by their face, what I'll do is I'll ride with a training stick here, and I will go, and if they're not turning for me, well, ask them on their back to turn nice and soft. And if they're not going to listen, I'll just go like this in towards their eye to get them to turn the direction I want. Sometimes I might have to tap them in the neck or something like that to get them to really pick up that I'm being serious about it. But at least then I'm not giving my horse to be really heavy onto that rein and stuff. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as well. So good girl. And what I really like to do too with these guys is to try and find different things that can make them uncomfortable. So anything that I can find to make a horse uncomfortable, I'm going to use it, because that's one less thing that a horse can react to then on the trail, and it can just make it a little bit more safer for the owner. Because what I want in the end to do is, my end goal to accomplish is I want that horse to put its total, complete trust in me or the owner or the leader of the herd there. I want them to put their complete trust into them, where if they get scared of something, no matter what it is, they're going to completely trust whatever it is that lead horse tells them to do. So if they're like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal, then they're like, okay, no big deal. If you were to ask them to walk off a cliff or something like that, I want them to trust you enough that they would actually walk off that cliff and not question you before, because that trust that you've built between you and your horse, it should be so strong eventually at some point, because you've never treated them wrong in the past. You can break that trust easily by by kind of pushing them more than what they're ready for at a time. So for example, if you have a horse that you're trying to get in a trailer and you're not giving it enough time to get in and check it out, make sure there's nothing in there that's going to hurt it, and you're just pushing and pushing and pushing, you're going to start breaking your horse's trust there, because you're pushing him beyond his comfort limits there. So you got to kind of work with your horse there and keep your horse's trust in mind too. So you don't want to push too much to start fracturing that trust between you and your horse. So it's easy to start to build by earning the respect, then you start getting that trust to form, but it can be easily broken as well. So it just takes more time to build it up than it does to break it. So I could easily break trust in one lesson than it could take me months and months and months to build up the amount of trust that I have between her right now. So that's kind of something to keep in mind as well. So that's good girl. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate her coming, to me, relaxing right now. She's being nice and mellow, relaxed. She's enjoying her head rubs here. But I'm okay with her kind of coming into my space like this, because I know that if I were to ask her to back up here, she respects me enough to get out of my space. There you go, good girl. There it is. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind as well. So you go, girl. I'll make sure that there is make sure that your horse is respecting you before I'll allow something like this to happen. But if they don't respect me, there's no way I'm gonna allow the horse to creep in like this or anything. So, oh, good girl.